Let's talk about stress, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about stress. I think I promised that I wasn't going to sing to you, didn't I? And I've just broken that promise. I apologise. So yeah, Salt and Pepper, we're talking about sex. I am not going to talk about sex. I'm going to talk about stress and pressure. So stress is the biggest negative driver on form. We've spoken about work as another big negative. Stress is the biggest negative that we're seeing in the data and stress management. So we're going to do this in two parts. Let's talk about what is stress, and then let's talk about how to better manage stress. So part one, what is stress? So over there is a saber-toothed tiger, right? So I am slightly worried about that, to say the least. I'm not going to swear, but you know what I'd want to say. So there's a saber-toothed tiger. What happens? So my autonomic nervous system, which regulates my reaction to perceived threat or pressure, is activated. The sympathetic branch of the autonomic nervous system kicks in. My pupils dilate, I see the tiger. My heart starts racing, my blood pressure increases. Blood is diverted from things like the digestive system to the muscles, ready that I can fight or run away, flight with this saber-toothed tiger. Adrenaline and cortisol are released into my system. My brain activity, my focus narrows, and it moves away from my ability to think clearly and widely in the cortex to the reptilian brain, the amygdala. I keep looking over at that saber-toothed tiger. I'm back at you now. And so this just prepares us to deal with this threat. Now, okay, I'm going to run away from the tiger. I'm not going to fight it. So there's me running. Champion. I've escaped the tiger. Okay. What happens now? The reverse happens. The parasympathetic branch of the nervous system kicks in. I can never remember the difference between those. But parasympathetic kicks in, but it's known as rest and digest. We recover from the stress that we've faced with the tiger. So, you know, blood is returned to the digestive system, the heart rate goes down, blood pressure goes down, the stress hormones stop. We recover from the stress that we've just experienced. And this is what we're biologically hardwired to do over millions of years. Now the problem is that we're not dealing with saber-toothed tigers on a day-to-day basis. We're dealing with deadlines, clients, bosses, meetings, annoying colleagues, children, partners, all of these things, okay? But in the workplace, what we're doing is we're going from one perceived threat, which would be those things I've just listed. We're going from one saber-toothed tiger to another with very little time to rest and digest, to recover. We're going from Zoom to Teams to Zoom to Teams, and we're packing it all in with little breaks in the day. We're not commuting, we're not taking a lunch break, and boom, what's happening? We're tapping into our reserves. We've spoken about energy, we've spoken about burnout. So we need pressure to perform, okay? We need pressure to perform. So I'm experiencing pressure now. Now that's a good amount of pressure. It's enabled me to be kind of up and bouncy in front of the camera. But after this, you know, I'll probably have breakfast with my children and I'll just relax a little bit, okay? And so the problem is if we go from pressure, and it just goes up and up and up, eventually that's where we get to the exhaustion and burnout. We're not managing the stress properly, we're not managing the pressure. And I use them interchangeably because stress has a very bad rep. You know, stress can be positive, joy, excitement. But if we talk about pressure, we understand that. But if pressure gets into kind of consistent stress with no recovery from the pressure, that's where the problem is. So, what's the message here? We are physiologically evolved to deal with perceived threat and pressure. But we need to allow ourselves to recover. Okay? We need to allow ourselves those breaks in the day, those mindful moments, the pursuit of hobbies to recover. And we're going to talk more about that in the next session. So, if you see a saber-toothed tiger, better get running.